It's been impossible to find any next-gen graphics cards in stock. So I started looking into if there was a way to make my current graphics card, the XFX RX 5700, any faster. Searching on Google, I came across MSI Afterburner. As I learned more about the software, it sounded too good to be true. Make your graphics card faster for free. On top of that, it even allows you to create your own custom design for how everything looks. I immediately thought that this would make a great design exercise. I installed Afterburner, and in this video, I'll go over 1, if it really works, and 2, my custom Afterburner design. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. Okay, so does Afterburner really work? To answer this question, let's start with AMD's reference design spec for the RX 5700, which has a boost clock of up to 1725 MHz. So this is our baseline to compare. The RX 5700 card that I have by XFX has a boost clock of 1750 MHz, or an additional 25 MHz over AMD's reference design, providing a 1.43% gain. Using Afterburner, I was able to increase the boost clock for the XFX card to 2000 MHz for an impressive 13.75% gain compared to AMD's reference design. To see if the boost clock gain translated into higher in-game frames per second, I used the Borderlands 3 benchmark at 1080 resolution with the quality set to badass and all the graphics settings at ultra. I ran the benchmark 3 times for each and took the average. For the stock XFX card, the average was 31.63 frames per second. With Afterburner, the average was 46.01 frames per second. This translates into a 32.62% increase with Afterburner, or an additional 15 frames per second. I am completely blown away by the results. Even more impressive is actually playing Borderlands 3, I'm averaging in the mid 50 frames per second. If I were to lower the graphics settings from badass to high, I'm sure the average would hover above 60 frames per second. To recap, I made 3 changes in Afterburner, which I'll go over in a moment. These 3 changes made the XFX graphics card run 13% faster and increased the frames per second in Borderlands 3 by 32%, or an additional 15 frames per second. All for free. Does Afterburner work? Yes. Does it improve gaming performance? Yes. Now, let's take a look at Afterburner. The program comes bundled with 15 designs to choose from, and even more are available for download. But what makes Afterburner so amazing is you can even create your own custom design. Being a designer, I couldn't resist and thought it would make a great design exercise. And here it is. This is my own custom Afterburner design. For the 3 changes I made to achieve an additional 15 frames per second in Borderlands 3, I set the core clock to 2000 MHz, memory clock to 1860 MHz, the fan speed to 100%, and apply the changes. Easy, right? Let's talk design. For the color palette, I went with red, black, gray, and white as a nod to MSI's branding. For layout, I organized everything into 2 columns. The left column is for making changes, and the right column is to monitor changes. The options on the left column are grouped into 3 categories, so we have voltage, clock, and fan. For each category, I made a custom icon that turned out to be the most challenging and time-consuming of the entire design exercise. Each icon had to be both unique and the same. By definition, these are polar opposites, but hear me out. Each icon would be unique in the form of representing its category, and the same in the sense that, when seen together with the other icons, look like they're part of a design language or theme. If you take a look at the final icons, at first glance you might think that I was able to make them all the same by using red, but what actually ties them all together is the triangle shape. I used the shape as the foundation of all the icons because the triangle is, in nature, mathematics, and engineering, the most stable, so this was used as a metaphor. The voltage icon is actually a triangle divided in half, with the right side flipped vertically and then merged back together. The clock icon is a triangle rotated and sliced into 3 pieces to represent incremental speed. And last, the fan icon is derived from 3 triangles at different angles to represent the blades of a fan. And there you have it, my custom Afterburner design. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next design exercise.